afternoon, everyone. I'm so Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so excited to be welcoming you all to this week's Young and Dynamic session. Isn't it amazing how each week we have got this opportunity to meet time again and hear fresh ideas? Last week we were at a studio and we were with the Salvation Band, and my takeaway point was that you have to embrace who you are. If you are different, there's no need for you to try to be someone else. You have to embrace who you are. You don't have to fit in. So as I'm welcoming you, feel free to use the chat box and tell me what was your takeaway point in the band with the Salvations. My name is Anna Cynthia Banda, and I'm gonna be your MC today. First, I would like to acknowledge the diversity that we have. We have dynamite all the way from Burundi, Lesotho, Kenya, and Zimbabwe. Thank you so much for your consistency in joining Young and Dynamic. Those from Burundi will say, Lijoriza. That's me trying to say good afternoon in Burundi. Next time I'm gonna try it in Kenya and definitely in Lesotho language. It's not easy. Those in Zimbabwe, Maswera say Lichone Njani. I would like also to welcome the Delta philanthropy staff. Thank you so much for your love and your care. It is what keeps us going. Also, so now, please, will you also allow me to go through the housekeeping rule? I would like to remind you that as a leader, you need to have your notebook and a pen. Remember, you cannot keep everything in your mind, and you are learning great things here. You agree with me, right? So always have a notebook and a pen such that you can jot down and refer. Okay, and also in case you are leaving the meeting, please, may you kindly switch off your video, then switch it on when you are coming back again. And also feel free to use the chat box to ask questions, to make reactions, and tell us what you are feeling. So how are you and where are you connecting from today? We are so much interested in knowing all of that. So as we start the main session, I'd like to give this opportunity to Camilla to lead us in the word of prayer. So over to you, Camilla. Okay. Since Camilla is not here, so Lordwin.
Okay, good afternoon, leaders. Let us bow our heads before the Lord and pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful moment that you've given us. We thank you, Heavenly Father, that you've gathered here as your children, Heavenly Father, and we believe that you are with us today, Heavenly Father. As you said, 2 or 3 are gathered, are we there? We thank you, Jesus, for being with us. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for everything that we are going to discuss here, Heavenly Father, that you're going to be with us, and everything that is going to be shared here, it is going to help us, Heavenly Father. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for the leader that you have assigned, Heavenly Father, to speak unto us, Heavenly Father. As you have said in Proverbs 15, verse 20, that without counsel, plans fails, but with many advisors, they succeed. Father, we thank you for the advisor that you have selected for us today, that, Heavenly Father, we may be able to succeed, Heavenly Father. And also, Heavenly Father, as you have said, that The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Father, we thank you for each and every instruction that we're going to receive here, that it shall going to build us and it shall going to help us, Heavenly Father, to live according to your word and to live according to your, Heavenly Father, as written in your epistles, Heavenly Father. We thank you, Jesus, for everybody that is here. May you go to bless us abundantly. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Lord Dwayne, for the word of prayer. God is good. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Big announcement. We have picked up Lesotho starting this Monday. It's gonna be a 7-day prayer. So please join on the Global Intercessors platform, 6:30 a.m. in the morning and 8:30 p.m. in the evening. Okay, so today we're starting in a new station called Entrepreneurship Made Practical. Who is excited with me? I'm super excited for the session, especially with the trends which is taking place. Everyone knows about e-creator. There are people who are like recovering from heartbreak. There are some who are laughing that we told you so, but the session just had the best timing. Now we're gonna be talking about entrepreneurship made practical, because one lesson from e-creator is that we all need money. So now we need, and there are people, there are dynamites of God, businesses here. So the session is going to help them to know how will you grow your business? So it's those nitty-gritties, and we have a special guest today with us who's gonna take through that session. So I'm excited with whatever happened with e-creator, because this session will help us to like sit, relax, listen, then you go and what? And put into practice what you're going to. Also, we have with us Mr. Jerry Nyanzungu. He is a highly skilled and experienced business consultant, trainer, and entrepreneur. He has over 15 years experience in the business world and has helped businesses to grow into 7 and 8 figures. And by 7 and 8 figures, 7 figures is $1 million, 8 is 10 million. So he's a guy who is definitely not vindicated by just $1 million. No, he has helped businesses to grow to 7 and 8 figures. So instead of the 1 million that went away, he has experience with 10 million US dollars. So we are very privileged to have him among us. He has helped businesses to grow and become successful. He has a track record for that. And Mr. Jerry himself, he relates to us because he has experience with selling as a street vendor. So he has, especially if you're in Zimbabwe, he has got that experience and he has grown from it. He is the founder and chief executive of M&J company, which focuses on helping businesses to grow. And he's someone who always looks for new opportunities and challenges to help businesses grow. So ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mr. Jerry. Can you please react in the chat box before I give him the opportunity? Send fire emojis and show the excitement that you want to learn about entrepreneurship and you are ready. Your notebook and your pen is ready. So as I'm welcoming him, please send in reactions in the chat box. Saying, Jerry, 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 Jerry. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I'm seeing the fire emojis. So Mr. Jerry, say over to you.
Thank you for those kind words. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Africans. So despite all those accolades which are being said by my sister, I think Jerry is just simple. I'm a vendor. That's simple. Wherever I am, I'm selling, and whatever I'm doing, I'm trying to sell something because I'm a vendor. So yes, Jerry Nyanzungu, I was born and bred in the dusty streets or in the rural areas of Watomba. And that's where I come from, Kumusha, and in Watsomba and Samanyika. I think some of you actually know the song called Mukoma Justice if you are not AMA 2000, but I think most of you are young. So Jerry actually leads a company called M&J, which currently employ about around 70 youth, and most of the people we employ are youth. I think I'm just the one who is now moved from that category by a year and or so, but most of our guys are youths. But anyway, I like entrepreneurship, and actually our motto for our businesses, we need to build timeless businesses in Africa. Why building timeless businesses in Africa is because we've noticed that Africans, we've got a lot of businesses. If you notice, I think we've got buses. We used to have a lot of bus companies which have since disappeared. And most of the people like us Africans will say, or this guy has actually disappeared with his wealth. And we need to demystify that. Why is it like that? Why is that a business is not moving from another generation to another generation? That's why I have actually founded M&J and said, how can we develop our African business? So M&J is in Zimbabwe. It's also in Zambia, in Lusaka. So we've got offices in Harare, in Bulawayo, and Lusaka, Zambia, where we are championing entrepreneurship. And we assist companies from setting up companies in Zambia, setting up companies in South Africa, setting up companies in Zimbabwe. And we also have a software company under M&J, which does your ERP software. We also have an HR consultant company. We also have a marketing and sales company. And lastly, we also have an accounting firm. By the end of this year, we must also have an audit firm under M&J. So Jerry, besides that, I'm also an author of 2 books. The first book is called The Chartered Vendor. I think that's where my title is coming from, The Chartered Vendor. And if you notice, the chartered is a bit small and the vendor is a bit big. I'll narrate more about that. Then I've got this new book, which is called Selling Like a Vendor. Selling Like a Vendor is a book which I launched on the 16th March. You're doing very, very well. I never thought that I can actually survive on just selling a book, because I think our daily revenue in terms of selling these books, it's ranging from around 150 to 200 US a day, just coming from the books. So why the chartered vendor? So if you are going to see most of my social media platforms, I'm just the chartered vendor. So that's where I want to start from. The chartered, it's coming from, I'm a chartered secretary by profession. I'm also a public accountant registered here in Zimbabwe. I did CIS, I did a CCA, they also call it ACA. But the reason why the chartered is a bit smaller and the vendor is bigger is because I think that, or personally, much of my experience was from the streets. Yes, I've been in schools, good schools like Marisi Brothers Nyanga, but I've noticed that much of my experience, which I'm using right now, even advertise on my platforms, even that's why the reason this book has actually sold more than 11,000 copies, and it's not easy to sell books in Africa. So if you can apply $20 times 11,000, I think you can see that there's a substantial amount of money from just selling books. So I encourage you to also sell your stories. So the chartered vendor, it's a story which I thought can inspire Africans. It's a story which is relatable, because if you notice, some of our kids, you've got relatives who are vendors. Some of us are actually vending. Some of us are coming from poor backgrounds. I was also selling in the streets. So probably I'll start narrating by how I became a vendor, because most of the people say, I think this story is a lie. Most of the people have said, I think until I had to show them the pictures, until Mr. Aaron Chundramoyo to do my forward, because he saw me as a vendor. He witnessed the 5 years I was a vendor. So the reason why I was a vendor was when I finished my A level, unlike most of you guys, or thanks to actually Dr. Masiwa for giving us this platform, thanks to Dr. Masiwa for founding Higher Life Foundation in 1996 to cater for disadvantaged people, to give education to young people. So unlike me, A-level, I finished my A-level, I think that was around 2004. Then after finishing my O-level, I decided to take a path which was kind of different from most of people. And I started by doing temporary teaching in Nyamingura in Zindi Secondary, that's in Eastern Highlands, teaching people. And I was teaching people almost of my age. Since I was coming from A-level, I started teaching O-level, mathematics and accounting. So when I was at Nyamingura, I read a newspaper, Herald newspaper, and there was a nice story, a motivating story, which changed my life, which changed the landscape of where I was about to go. So this story was about Dr. Gideon Gono. I think most of you know him. Dr. Gideon Gono was the former reserve governor, former reserve bank governor, and he was his term was from 2003 to 2018. So the newspaper was written from a T-boy to the reserve bank governor. Then it caught my eye, and I started reading that book. I tell you the truth, it was my first time hearing that someone cannot get into an university and still be successful. So I was so fascinated about this story. And it was mentioning about how he managed to rise up to when he was a doctor, up to when he was now in charge of the Reserve Bank governor. Immediately I said to myself, because if you remember 2004, inflation was now increasing, things were not well in the country. The economy was starting to be very, very difficult. So my father was a civil servant by then, a soldier, and my mother was just a housewife. Then I said to myself, I think it's the right time. I shouldn't pass through the university because I was supposed to go. I was actually admitted at MSU, but I said, let me follow Dr. Gono's footsteps. So immediately I went to my mom. I said to her, I need to get into Harare. Find me a way of getting into Harare. Remember, when I was doing my temporary teaching, it was an open space. I was supposed to be there for 3 years, but I abandoned that mission. And I said to myself, let me get into Harare. And my mother started saying, we don't have relatives in Harare. But I remember that there was a house when you're passing through Harare, would pass through a house and you pass through some of our uncles. And she said, okay, I can find you a place to stay. So remember, when you've got your uncles, you know, in our African, our relationships, which we have to explain to say, this is our auntie, our uncle, and etc. That's what happened to me. And I started staying in Glenview. So when I started staying in Glenview, fortunately for me, after 1 week, I got a job at Edgar's and started working for a company which is listed at the stock exchange. And I was working there as a ticketer. If you know, those who have been in Edgar's stores, you can see the prices which are ticketed on each and every garment. With the ones who were doing that, I was also responsible for distributing the clothes around the country. It was a tough job, which you could only rest by getting into a toilet. That's how that job was very tough. So work at Edgar's wasn't easy because that was around 2005 and inflation was now at around 1,286%. That was the time of bearer checks. I think Zimbabweans have gone through a lot. We've gone through a lot, if you notice, especially on our economy. I think most of you don't even know bearer checks. Bearer checks, that was we once used the bearer checks before the bond notes. And we use a lot of, I think right now in Africa or in the world, most of the Zimbabweans, they actually know monetary terms than any other countries. Even we can give a run for their money, especially even the professors in America. I think they don't know about Nostro. I think they don't know about IMTT. I don't think they know about bearer checks. I don't even know also if they know about bond notes. Recently, we now have the auction system. Most of the Africans might not know, or even in the world, they don't know. But anyway, getting back to my story. So when I was working at Edgar's, it was just for 8 months when I was working at Edgar's, staying with my uncles. But unfortunately, in the 8th month, I was booted out of the house. I think it was on the 25th of June. That's when I was told that, Jerry, we no longer have a place for you from my uncle's house because I had bought my mattress and I bought a stove. You know that stove which when you're cooking, you're supposed to wear shoes, or those plastic shoes they used to call BMW. In Shona, it just means budimuriwanga. And some they used to call it yellow pushes. And even when it was brown or blue, they would still call it yellow pushes. I don't know why. So that's what you're supposed to wear in order for you to cook on that, to use that 2-plate stove. So that was my story. And when I just bought that, my uncles felt that like I can stay on my own, but they didn't know that my contract was also expiring that month. But anyway, I thank them for keeping me in Harare, for making me get into Harare, because if it wasn't of them, I was never going to get in. So just after when I was at Edgar's, my contract expired and I was given 4.5 million Zimbabwean dollars in bearer checks. Remember, this money had little value compared to the RTGS right now. I'll just give you a hint. A loaf of bread was 86,000 and an airtime card was 500,000, just to give you a hint. But the airtime used to be 500,000 during this time. So I was given 4.5 million only, which meant I could only buy nine airtime cards. So when I was removed from Edgar's, that's when I said to myself, what can I do? I don't have to go back to Atsomba. There was an option. It doesn't mean that my family was very, very poor, but I could have gone back to Atsomba. I said to myself, no ways. I will stay in Harare. I'll find other things to do in Harare. So that money, 4.5 million is what remained, but the actual amount I was given was 9.99 million to be specific. So when I was given that money, I said to myself, what can I do? I started off by looking at opportunities which were there. That's when I chose vending. And I said, I'm not going to vend anything else, but I want to do airtime. Why airtime? Because 10% of the population had phones. And airtime was a bit lucrative. It was different from a vendor selling sweets, a vendor selling bananas. Then I chose airtime. But the dilemma was, I could only buy 8 airtime cards at a time. And you know, when you're selling, I was at corner Glenview, at corner Patrenda and Willovo in Glenview 4. That's between Glenview 4, Glenview 3, and Budiriro, in front of a police station. And I was selling in front of a police station. This actually, when I noticed that I was selling in front of a police station, I just, when I saw that I was selling in front of a police station, I just knew that things are going to be very difficult for me because police was arresting vendors. By the way, I was arrested more than 40 times as a vendor. And at one time, I was actually beaten 40 times under my foot because of vending. So when I was doing that in Glenview 4, selling my airtime, I noticed that, no, airtime is giving me a lot of stress, because if you sell those 8 cards, you were supposed to also restock, and sometimes we'd restock 3 times a day. So just imagine from Glenview 4 to Budiriro 5, almost every day, twice a day. That's about 10 kilometers, because to and from Budiriro 5 is around 10 kilometers, and you'd go there 2 tries a day. Then I say to myself, let me switch. Most of the people who know airtime business, they know that it has got a small profit. And I noticed that I wasn't developing and my business wasn't growing. Then I just noticed around that, no, there are ladies were also doing sweets, were doing bananas, but these ladies were coming to the market store at around 8 a.m. And I was always at my market store at around 5 a.m. So by that time now, remember, I'll actually continue with my vending story. But remember, I was also fired from where I was staying. And I started staying with Ambuya Tendai. Ambuya Tendai, may rest in peace, because she took care of me, and I was now staying with her, paying rentals of about 4 million at her house. And the reason why I got a place at her house, it was because she had difficult conditions. I think I'll give you shortly, I'll just give you 5 of rules. She gave me 5 rules in order for me to stay at her house. My first rule was, I was supposed to water her garden at 2 a.m. Since in Glenview, in Harare, people are not allowed to water their gardens even during the day. In the evening, we're actually doing it against the council bylaws. So I would water the garden. And another rule is, after watering the garden, you were also supposed to buy the vegetables, because vegetables are not for free. So even after watering the gardens at 2 a.m., I was supposed to also what? I was also supposed to buy the vegetables. The second rule was, I was supposed to be at the house at 6 p.m. or at 18 hours. I was supposed to be at her. I was supposed to be at her house, because after 6 p.m. should lock a gate, and you're supposed to jump in order for you to get into for me to get into my room. The other rule was, at 7 p.m., we're supposed to be doing prayers. She was Jehovah's Witness, so we'd do prayers at 7 p.m. And the fourth rule was, I was supposed to clean the toilets and the dining room. And the last rule was, Jerry, you're coming from the rural areas. I don't want you to bring any girlfriend, or you're supposed to bring any girl in this room which you're staying, or even at this house. So this was my life, and this is how I was staying with Ambuya Tendai. But from those 5 lessons, these were vital lessons in my life, and I'm still using some of the lessons up to now. The first rule was, I was supposed to be watering the garden at 2 a.m. Guess what? These 2 books I write books, I don't write books during the day, because during the day I'm occupied doing M&J business. But I write my books in the evening. I usually write my books from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. This was a lesson from Ambuya Tendai, and thanks to her. And she also taught me cleanliness. Even up to now, yes, I've got an assistant, yes, I've got cleaners, but when my office is dirty, I can clean my own office, I can also even clean my car, I can clean everything. Because why? It's Ambuya Tendai who gave me that vital lesson in life. And also, even right now as I'm speaking to you, Ambuya Tendai said to me, you cannot bring any girl at my house. And that was a vital lesson as well, because even up to now, I'm married for 12 years with my wife, Rutendo. And to tell you the truth, some people, they say, yes, not every man is a cheater. But I say to you, I think for the 12 years, I've never asked out any woman except for my wife, who I have. Lessons from what? From Ambuya Tendai. So these were lessons from someone who was just staying with me for only 3 months. But anyway, if you want to hear about the whole story, you can check my book. These are also vital lessons which I want young people to be disciplined. There are things which we are now normalizing in our society, which are not normal. And I believe that this organization is God-fearing. We're supposed to put God first. And remember, also Ambuya Tendai encouraged me to pray. So it meant that everything which I'm doing is God first. And I also believe that here at Higher Life, here, our youths, we are also saying God first. In whatever we are doing, Dr. Strive Masiwa became a billionaire because he's afraid of God, he respects God. So I encourage everyone to put God first. So coming back to my vending story, when I was doing airtime, I noticed that I had to switch business from airtime business, starting doing other businesses which were not airtime. Remember, airtime was a bit lucrative, but I say to myself, gloves are now off. There's no reason for me to shine. Remember, I was an introvert. At one point, I was actually fired from public speaking at Mariste Brothers. I think handling a mic was good as someone pointing a gun at me. But I tell you, just today, I've got 3 events. I did an event in the morning. I'm doing this event. And also I've got an event in the evening, public speaking. Who knew that Jerry was going to be paid? Because right now I'm not even charging to speak, but it all came from the vending. That's why I said the chartered vendor. I'm saying I got much of my experience from the streets. I got much of my experience speaking, liaising with people, engaging people, selling goods, making sure that even HR, I learned about human resources. My first employee was from the streets. I ended up actually employing 4 people as a vendor. But the lesson, the first lesson which I want you to learn is, when you're doing entrepreneurship, when something is not working, whether if you're passionate about that thing or not, sometimes you have to move from what you're passionate about and do something which is making sense. I know that, yes, some people, they say you need to be in India to do a business which you like. That's good. But sometimes if that business which you like, let's say you like selling cars, your capital doesn't allow you to sell cars. It simply means for you to raise that capital, you sometimes have to do what you don't like. Like, I think sometimes what I encourage, the vital attribute or a trait of an entrepreneur is discipline. Discipline is actually doing what is supposed to be done, not doing what your body likes or what you actually say, I like to do this. But discipline is just doing something because it's supposed to be done. When it's in the morning, you need to jog, you need to get into the gym. Whether if you like to wake up or not, you're supposed to wake up. That's discipline, which I believe it's a vital trait for any entrepreneur. So when I switched from my airtime business, I started selling sweets, I started selling bananas, I started selling cigarettes, I started selling donuts, and blows were off. I was now doing vending full scale. I think at 8 a.m., I would have finished the whole brick. I think that was the time of Pacific. That was the time when Pacific was really a hot product and people were buying it because it was cheap. So when I was a vendor, I learned that if you switch business, sometimes you can actually grow your capital. I later started selling airtime again when I had capital of about 100 million Zimbabwean dollars, which was now enough for me to run my airtime business. Because I still remember that time around 2009 when we were also using hot recharge. Yes, I'm a fan of technology. Even up to now, our business is mostly centered on technology. Even our consultants, it's mostly centered on technology. But I say to myself, let me sell bananas in order for me to raise money. And at one point, I was also owning payphones. You know, those payphones, you used to have those big phones, your Motorola's, your Siemens would use them together with office phones and would have what was called a payphone, because most of the people didn't have cell phones. So I did a payphone business, which at one point was actually employing 4 people. At the age of 19, I was employing 4 people, and I was now doing airtime, doing my payphones, and also selling my cigarettes, selling my bananas. So I started off with little money. So remember, if it was 500,000 to buy an airtime card, and I started this business with 4.5 million, I just want to say to someone who is saying, I'm looking for capital to start a business. So for you to start a business, you need a good idea. You don't necessarily need capital. You don't necessarily capital in monetary terms, but your biggest capital investment, it's a good idea. So even if I'm going to say, probably some of you are going to say, so how did you start M&J? I also started M&J with a $50 laptop, which I still have. This is the laptop. It's a compact. You can see this laptop. I still have it with me. This is the laptop which started M&J. I didn't have any money. I didn't have a chair. I didn't have a desk, but I started off with just a laptop, which I wanted, because I started off with just registering companies. Hence, I wanted a laptop, and I would borrow a printer. I would just say, please, may I have a printer with the guy? Even my first office wasn't fancy. My first office, I was actually sharing with a guy who was repairing printers and was very dirty. But anyway, how did I ended up in my journey as a vendor? In 2009, I said to myself, I'm not getting back into the industry. So when I got back into the industry, I started off as an accounts clerk. I rose to be a bookkeeper. and I ended up being an accountant, worked for about 4 companies until 2014, when I was fired from where I was working. I was fired a lot of times, by the way. Don't ask me why, but anyway, what I also want to encourage young people who are still in university, when you're young, is the time to learn, not time to earn. If you're still 20-year-old, 25-year-old, probably less than 30, it's your time to learn, not time to earn. So most of our young people is, when you're getting out of university, you think you're going to get into an air-conditioned office. You think you're going to get a company vehicle. You think you're going to get a company house. Some of you, I've interviewed a lot of young people. Some of you are even demanding company wives and company husbands. Forget about that. You need to start learning the ropes. Unfortunately, for us in Africa as a whole, what we are learning in universities, sometimes it's not even applicable to what they're demanding in industry. I will ask you a question, which is nail biting. It's this question, I'm not a racist, but I just want to impose this question to you guys, and I want you to answer me in the comment section. Why is that in primary level, ECD level, we've got schools, mixed schools with black and white? You are going to also see that in our secondary schools, we've got blacks and whites. But in our universities, especially in Zimbabwe, especially in countries like Zambia, we only have blacks. Where are the white people going? This is the question. I just want to impose this question to you. Answer me, where are the white people going? And why is that they are with us primary, they are with us in the secondary, but they are suddenly disappearing when they are going to the universities? This is a question to whoever is in the university, whoever has been in the university, and whoever is teaching in the university. So some of the people are going to say they are going abroad, but I also say to you, go to Royal Golf Club today. You're going to meet many white people. Get into most of the fancy restaurants in Bordeaux Brook, Chisipiti, Avondale. You're going to see white people are there. You're also going to see that in Bordeaux Brook Golf Course, it's mostly the membership, it's mostly white people. So why is that they are jumping this stage whereby they are not getting through the universities? Why is that they don't want to get these degrees? Why is that they don't want to get these masters? Why is that they don't want to get these doctorates? This is a question for you. I'm just asking you. I'll probably explain what I think. What I think is, whether we like it or not, these guys have developed better than us. Hence, when they're getting into an education system, but you can get a white person in Chibero College doing agriculture. You can get a white person in another college doing something which is practical, which they are going to use at their workplace. So what I want to say to young people is, when you're still in university, it's not time for dating. I know that the syllabus which have been given are so short, and sometimes they're generalized. Sometimes we've got engineers who cannot even, I've got an engineer who cannot produce a toothpick. At one point, as Africans or as Zimbabweans, we're importing water. At one point, we're importing toothpicks, but we've got engineers. We're telling ourselves that we've got a best education system. So where is the innovation going? As we've got many educated people in Africa, why is that as Africa, we've got plenty of resources. We've got gold, we've got diamonds, we've got chrome, we've got lithium, but we wait until China has produced a lithium battery for us. During COVID-19, we were waiting for India to give us vaccines. We're waiting for China to give us vaccines. We're even complaining that these guys are delaying with vaccines.
We even blamed that COVID was brought by 5G. Are we really educated as Africans? Are we really learning what we are supposed to be learning in our universities? So I want to challenge our kids. If you're doing mathematics, if you're doing accounting in the university, why can't you start checking on YouTube and see the softwares which are being used in accounting? Learn about Pastel, learn about QuickBooks, learn about Zoho Books, not learning to pass. You guys are just getting into universities, you just want to get your 1-1, you just want to get your 2-1, but you are not learning anything. Our difference is these guys are learning in order for us to apply things. If I was going to be a chancellor of any university, if I had power to change our curriculum, I was going to say, for you to graduate as a marketer, for you to graduate as a sales degree, would just give you probably laptops to sell during a semester. We just say, this semester we want you to sell 50 laptops. If you sell 30, it's 30 out of 50, you've got 60%. If you're a marketer, we're going to give you campaigns which you're supposed to do. We're going to give you logos which you're supposed to be doing. We're going to give you market strategy which you're supposed to do in a practical way. Right now, it's a pity that we've got kids who don't know how to run Zoom. Right now, we've got young people who are actually on this platform who cannot write an email. Right now, we've got young people who are doing mathematics. We've got young people who are doing accounting. We've got young people who are doing engineering, and they cannot even run, and they don't know how to do formulas on Excel. So what does it mean about our African way of doing things, or rather our education and our curriculum? That's why to myself, I said, I learned a lot. I'm not saying school is bad, but I'm saying as you are in the school, there's no one who is going to teach you Excel. But instead of you following my TT, yes, she's my sister, I like her so much. We also work together. I'm saying instead of you following jokes on social media, instead of you knowing all the scandals which are happening on social media, I tell you, some of you right now, some of you who are present here, you even know the demands of a certain pregnancy of a socialite better than you know about your work, better than you know about your degree. So the time you are using busy chasing socialites, why can't you use that time to start learning about Excel? Why can't you start learning about knowing what is really happening in your industry? If you're a doctor, aspiring doctor who is doing medicine, that's why even African doctors, when you get into the States, they say you're not a qualified doctor. Please go back, because why? They are now using robots to operate people in America. They are now using robots to operate people in South Korea. Here we are still using our hands. We are still using, everything is still manual. So where are we as Africa? Right now we are in the phase of AI, but I tell you as Africa, we still haven't even maximizing using Google. So right now, I'm challenging you, the student who is in UZ, a student who is in NAST. Right now, most of you, only one person is graduating. The rest are just copying assignments. When you've got a degree, you also want to be paid according to your degree. You're saying there's no way someone who is degreed is going to be paid this amount of money. But the truth is, the industry is not paying degrees. The industry is paying value. The industry is paying people who know what they are doing. The industry is now no longer looking for degrees. I'll tell you at M&J, I've quit recruiting people based on their qualifications. I will now recruit people based on their abilities to deliver. Right now, as I speak, I've got a consultant who is she's just 18 years old. We've got a consultant, a sales consultant, who is doing better than degreed consultant, but they're just 19 years old. Because why? It's now all about soft skills. The world has changed. I think I've once told people about this story. There was a camps in this other country. You know, those soldiers, they like guarding everything at their camp. At one point, there was a wet statue, and the commander actually instructed 3 soldiers to guard that statue for some time. But unfortunately, this commander changed, was deployed somewhere, and the new commander came in, and they were still guarding that statue. But so years went by until it was 70 years. Another commander came in and said, let us check in our history. Why are people still guarding that statue? He noticed that the statue was still wet. So I want to challenge you as Africans, guys. Are we still not guarding wet statue? Is this still lucrative for our kids to say, when I grow up, I want to be an accountant? Is this still lucrative for our kids to say, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor? Do we have kids who are now saying, when we grow up, right now in our curriculum, ECD level, kids are still being beaten that they've got a bad handwriting. But we've got cities in China which are advocating to ban printers, to ban writing, because they are saying everything is supposed to be online. Signing is supposed to be online. Things are supposed to be done through the computer. So as Africans, are we still not guarding the wet statue? We are still applauding ourselves that we are getting donor funds. We are still applauding ourselves that we are getting FDIs, foreign direct investments. But it's a pity that not foreign direct investments, but we've got gold, which is being mined in Shamba. We've got gold, which is being mined in Kwekwe. But that gold is being exported to America, is being exported in Europe. When it's now coming back as a watch, it's now very expensive. So Africans, are we not still guarding the statue? So the journey of entrepreneurship needs you guys. So I was just telling you my story. I was just telling you to inspire you that no, everyone has got a chance. The only person who doesn't have a chance is a dead man. When you're still alive, whether 50, whether young people, I've heard people saying, because of I'm a young person, I'm an old person, entrepreneurship doesn't have any age. That's why you have many people. I've started my company probably 8 years ago. But I've got people who started at 37. Right now, if you say, Dr. Philip Mataranyika started Nyanzungu at 37 years old. But right now, Nyanzungu is now big. Someone started with 25, but they haven't reached where Nyanzungu is. So entrepreneurship has got no age. Entrepreneurship is a mindset issue. Africans, we are in poverty, not because of our politics. That's a lie. Not because of our environment, which we like talking about. I think Dr. Strive Masiwa started Econet when the environment was already tough, but right now he's a billionaire. So let us quit giving excuses. Let us stop guarding the statue. We are still guarding the statue as Africans. We are still thinking that if you go through a certain way of doing things, that's the normal way of doing things. Personally, I had an advantage of reading a newspaper. I had an advantage of reading what Dr. Gono was saying. I had an advantage that I got a mentor who I didn't meet, and I only met him last year because he gave me another insight to say, as kids are in universities, what about if you start registering your business? I'm sorry to say this. I know that there's someone who's doing business management. There's someone who's doing entrepreneurship in Bindura or in Chinoy. But unfortunately, you're being taught by a doctor or a professor who doesn't have experience of running a tuck shop. It's painful, but it's the truth. So do you think these people are going to teach you about real entrepreneurship? You are just learning the general part of entrepreneurship. But entrepreneurship, let me tell you, those who have started companies, those who are running companies, to be honest, if you are thinking that entrepreneurship is an 8 to 5 job, you are lying to yourself. Entrepreneurship is tough. Sometimes I sleep at work. Sometimes other days you're even worried that, are we going to make it this month? I tell you, I've sat with executives. By the way, I've worked with over 4,500 companies. Every day, entrepreneurship, it's scary. If you're an entrepreneur, so I'm saying, the doctor who is teaching you about entrepreneurship, who hasn't even run a tuck shop, who doesn't even know how to draft a budget, besides just seeing it in textbooks, how are they going to teach you entrepreneurship? But I'm saying the lessons about entrepreneurship are now free online. They are free on YouTube. They are free on Google. Right now on your chat GPT, ask about anything which you want. They will give you an answer. Our answers are now on our fingertips, but are we learning proper entrepreneurship? So entrepreneurship, we need to be learning the actual entrepreneurship. We need entrepreneurship to be practical. And how is it going to be practical? It's an issue of mindset. I started my company alone with this laptop only. Me and my laptop, we started this company. I wrote this book, which is giving me a revenue of more than 5,000 a month from this book, besides the speaking engagement, by just selling this book. Because I've learned selling skills, which are not being taught in our schools. Right now, we've got kids who are doing marketing, but they don't have any clue about marketing. We've got kids who are doing marketing, but they don't even know that there's a social media platform called Threads, which was launched. We've got kids who come to interviews with degrees of marketing, but when you ask them, are you on any social media platform? They will say, I'm shy to go on social media. So how are you going to market? So we need to start asking ourselves as Africans, are we not still guarding the statue? Are we still not guarding that word statue? So things have changed. I think Bishop Tudo Bismarck has said, he has compared Zambia and South Korea. They all got independence same year. But South Korea is now almost a first world country, producing phones, producing vehicles. But Zambia, with 15,000 churches, just same as Zimbabwe, and I'm talking about Zambia, it's just same as Zimbabwe. Very prayerful. Every day we are fasting. Every day we are getting into mountains, but we cannot even produce paper. But we are failing, our industries are failing to produce a toothpick. Our industries at one point were failing to produce even glass. So are we not still guarding the statue? What about if we start teaching our kids at a tender age about sales? What about if we start teaching our kids skills of negotiation? Because life is all about negotiation. Life is all about sales. When you get into an interview, what are you doing? You're selling yourself. Even some of our young guys end up marrying people they don't love because they are shy, they don't know how to sell themselves. For equal rights purposes, even girls nowadays, they're now asking men out. They are now marrying people they don't love because why? They don't know how to sell. People are now being employed in jobs they don't like because why? They are afraid, they don't know how to sell. They don't know how to make a presentation. They don't even know how to make slides. So we need to ask ourselves as Africans, are we not still guarding the statue? So guys, yes, I know next week we'll be hammering now on the practical ways of registering a company, of recruiting people. Even right now, I'll ask you about recruitment as an entrepreneur or someone who is working with people right now. Have you ever noticed the way they run soccer teams in America, in London, in UK? your EPL, your Chelsea's, your Barcelona's in Spain, your Juventus in Italy. These guys, when they're running their businesses, they mean business. When a player, a soccer player is not delivering, they go to, firstly is the bench. Then when they don't deliver, they are kicked out of the clubs. I think even my own brother, my fellow board member at one of an institute, Marvelous Nakamba, when he was not delivering results at Aston Villa, he was sent to Luton Park on loan because they only demand results. They don't care whether you are related, but what they wanted are results. But right now, how many companies, how many organizations are still keeping mediocre employees in the name of this high staff turnover? How many companies are still probably even at a country level, whereby we still have people who are occupying offices, but they're not producing results? What about if you start viewing entrepreneurship, or if you start viewing your company as Chelsea Football Club, whereby you only demand results? Not to say we are just going to keep someone because they were here for 10 years, they once scored. When have you ever noticed that even right now in Manchester City, Haaland has scored many goals, but if he fails to deliver this year, they will send him out of the club because they are only worried about the results. And they don't say, because you gave us results last year, hence you are going to have a jersey, hence you still be in the first 11, because it's all about results. What about in Africa? What about in Zimbabwe? If we start to have performance-based salaries, performance-based wages, not to get a salary just because a month has ended, not to get a salary just because you have appeared at work. Most of you right now, you're cheating your companies. Most of you are even cheating the companies which you founded. Because why? 60% of your time, you're busy on your timeline. You're updating your Instagram. You're busy checking on your TikTok. You're busy joining the threads. Have you ever noticed that in Africa, from 8 to 5, that's when most of the people are glued on social media? Because that's when they've got free Wi-Fi in companies. So unless if we are able, we are willing to speak about this truth as Africans, we'll never develop. We've got plenty of our relatives who are now outside the countries, in UK, in Australia, in America. They will tell you that we can only talk to you during this specific time. But here in Africa, everyone is online. Try sending anyone any message today during working hours. Right now on Saturday, we've got few people on social media. Why? Because there's no free Wi-Fi in companies. Right now, we don't have a lot of people on TikTok on Sundays and Saturdays because there's no free Wi-Fi. Wait until when it's 8 a.m. on Monday. You're going to see plenty of them now updating everything now on social media. Africans, are we still not guarding the statue? I thank you. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jerry. You know, the platform, there are lots of questions that are coming from the chat box. And someone said, can you clarify, are you now saying education is not important?
Thank you so much. I think when I say to myself, education is very important. And when you're also saying education, right now what you are doing, we're educating each other. When you're on Google, you can choose to educate yourself or to search about a creator. And in Zimbabwe, unfortunately in Africa, everyone wants to be a comedian, even when they're not even funny. You see, when we're defining education, when Dr. Strive Masiwa is doing those articles, he's busy educating us. What I'm just saying is, as Africans, let us stop guarding the statue education is no longer found in the classrooms only. I'm saying, what about if you fuse education from our classrooms and we fuse it with practical education? I tell you, my brother, will be dangerous in this world. Africa won't be abused if we are to focus on what is important. Right now, most of the kids, they are focusing on getting the degree. They are focusing on wearing that black gown and that black cap. Even when they haven't acquired any information or any knowledge from that degree. Right now, there are very few people who have failed degrees. Very few, unfortunately. So we're saying to ourselves, I'm saying empower yourself with a degree, but if you've got a degree, you must show for real that you did accounting. You must show for real that you practice medicine. Right now, we've got lawyers. If you are not careful, they can accompany you to the jail. Some lawyers, you can even see that you are better than them in terms of making arguments. Because why? We're still getting the statute. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And there's also a follow-up question again from Kodavashi. He said, my question is that many people are doing this vending business, but they remain in the street. They just survive but not grow. So where they are losing it, and what was the secret behind your success?
Thank you so much. Like what I said, the biggest secret is discipline. The next biggest thing is don't be satisfied. Like right now, I'm now in Zambia. The reason why I'm actually in Zambia borders with 8 countries. Hence, we want M&J to be in each and every African country, but we'll start with Southern Africa. So we need, every time, it's either when you're not growing, most of the times you're going to shrink. So the reason why someone is still in the streets, right now as I'm speaking to you, most of my fellow vendors in around 2005, 2009, most of them, they're still in the streets. Because why? They're not dreaming big. I don't want to be on the same place, don't be at the same place. Right now, I also want to be, one day, my vision to say, before I die, I should at least meet, if I fail to be a billionaire, if I fail to be a multimillionaire, but at least I should make an impact of having many people who are going to be multimillionaires. Many people who are going to, right now, I am proud of 2 companies. The owners of those companies are now multimillionaires. Because why? I'm saying, if Africa change, we also change. So the challenge is most of the people, we are all satisfied with getting a paper, we are satisfied with getting a gown, we are satisfied with just getting a job, but we are not satisfied with see something growing. Even right now, if you see yourself as an accounts clerk for 5 years, why are you still in that job? Please move from that job, develop yourself, grow. If you don't grow, you shrink.
I like you when you say develop yourself, and if you don't grow, you shrink. Thank you so much. There's a question from Noah said, what is the typical day like for you, say, from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep?
Okay, thank you so much. So I'll give you an example. Today, I woke up at 3 a.m. and I'm writing a book, which is exciting, especially for the youths. It's called Sales Equals to Mjolo. I'm comparing sales and their love relationships, which they like. So 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. I'm writing, 6 a.m. I'm in the gym up to half seven, I'm in the office. I'm in the office up to usually 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. 9 p.m. I'm with my family, with my kids. 10 p.m. to half 10, I'm with my wife. I go to sleep. 3 a.m. I also wake up. So that's my daily routines. Like today, I'm actually at work. It's a Saturday. I'm at work, and it's not a virus because most of even my colleagues, they're also at work because Saturday I'm also working. Wow, because we are behind as Africa, my brother. We are 30 years behind than other countries. So if we rest, because we like blaming the government, we like blaming each other. But I've said, if I recruit one person from the streets, I'm also reducing unemployment rate. So who is the government? Government is me Government is you. Government is everyone on this platform. So let us do our part.
Wow. Thank you so much. And yes, so from Lupane State Investors.
Good afternoon. I think we might have lost Tinashe there, but I will hand over to Anna, who's going to close off the session. Thank you so much. That was such an insightful session. Anna, I will hand over to you.
Good afternoon once again, and thank you, Mrs. O, for handing over to me. And Jerry, wow, what can I say? Chandibat, like you really touched me. The session touched me in a way I didn't think it would. And I'm just saying, if this is the introduction, because this is the space station and we're having you again next week, what else to expect from you? I'm so touched. Now, instead of thinking about eCreator, I have something different to think about, because most of the things that you spoke about, like being an accounting student who doesn't know about Pastel, the QuickBooks, things like that. Yeah, I've been downloading theory in my head, and now I have something to reflect on during this week. So thank you so much, High Life, for those amazing sessions that you have. I believe that everyone has been touched. Now, yeah, definitely. We are moving on from eCreator. We have something better to do. We've been told we are guiding statues. We've been told that when you're at university, don't focus on dating and calling each other wives and husbands. And yeah, in Zoom, we are those people that we clean toilets or sell juice cards. We think that I've lost it in life. But now I'm seeing about the perspection. If I think results, if I think what am I learning from this, then it means that I can grow and become like you. I also want 22,000. I did the calculation, 11,000 by $20, it's 22,000. I want to start here also. The session was so wonderful. Moving on to the weekly announcements, you are reminded once again that Lift Up Lesotho is starting on Monday, 6:30 a.m. in the morning and 8:30 p.m. in the evening. Remember to comment, like, and share our young and dynamic post on Facebook and also on Sasai. Remember to like, comment, and share our ABC Prosperous Minds on Facebook. You are also reminded that the Global Intercessors platform is open 24 hours. You are free to connect, pray for yourself, pray for the nation, and also do share our YouTube page. Many youth need to see this information that you saw today. If Jerry say he is where he is today because it started from reading a newspaper and him being mentored by someone where seen, if this is what you had today, you can put it into practice yourself. You too will be a 7-8 figure individual. So share our YouTube channel with your friends. Thank you so much for connecting. Let's meet next week, Saturday, same time, same place. For now,